the Gator Fly-In and Armed Services Appreciation Day happening at the University Air Center on Saturday the 19th. We will be learning all about the exciting events that day with fun, food, and so much more. Be sure to listen this Thursday, the 10th at 10:30.
New arrivals and new savings are waiting for you at Blockers Furniture with over 80,000 square feet of the best selection and best prices you can find on furniture, mattresses, home accents, accessories, and more. And with new trucks arriving weekly, Blockers has the best available in-stock selection. Unlike many other furniture companies that will have you waiting for months to get what you want or need, come see everything that Blockers has to offer. Blockers Furniture, 2402 Southwest College Road, next to Hobby Lobby.
This hour of Ocala Talks is brought to you in part by Blockers Furniture. Go see all their specials at blockersfurniture.com.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, coming to you from the studios of WOCA Radio, located just off the runway at the Ocala International Airport in the Brick City, beautiful Ocala, Florida. Going to be a high of about 87 today. Little afternoon thunderstorms. It's almost like it's summertime with the sea breeze kicking in, a time that I know I look forward to, but maybe not as much as the guy on the phone with me, Galen, from Life South. Brought to you by the good folks at Penn Flooring, Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, and JustShip.net. Galen, good morning.
Hey, what's going on, Tom? How are you today?
I'm doing well. But last evening I was driving down the road I'd been running some errands for my wife, and I got back on the interstate to come towards 326 to come towards my house. And I saw a big sign over the interstate that said, road incident, 34 miles ahead, all lanes blocked. So I thought, my immediate thought was, well, Galen's not going that way in the morning. He's coming home in the afternoon. Hopefully that won't bother him, because it was right about 4:30, 4:40. And I go, but does he have to face that kind of just death race every day? Because this was a bad accident in Alachua, that right at the Alachua exit, that had 9 vehicles, including a semi-trailer that caught on fire. 8 people hospitalized in this 9-car pileup. It reminded me that this was in the middle of the day, but it reminded me of the pileup that happened some 10, 11 years ago maybe, that was caused in the prairie by smoke and fog, where it was many more than 9 vehicles. I forget how many vehicles were involved with that, but it was just carnage. And I thought, does Galen have to face this kind of thing every day? I mean, is 75 that dangerous in Gainesville?
Well, between once you get into, that Alachua area all the way down to 200, on any given day you can get a major accident. Right there at the 326 exit is always backed up, head north. That's one of the worst exits that I see on all my travels. So, because what happens is that light is so terrible, and it's just a truck stop, right? Because they may be cutting through to go up to Jacksonville or whatever, to pick up 301. Could be a million reasons, but that is always such a really, really heavy truck area, and it gets backed up onto the interstate, sometimes a mile, and that place is crazy. But before I go to work and before I come home, I always check the maps and see what's the fastest way. Because 301 is under construction right now, or 301, I'm sorry, is under construction over the prairie. They're changing the lane set up.
Yes, it's only one lane each way. It's only one lane each way.
It's been terrible for 3 years, and the road's been done for 2 of them, and that is a major problem. So I don't know what the DOT is doing, but I think we could say that with about everything the DOT does.
Well, if my time in Orlando driving around that area
Oh.
in the past 10 years
Oh.
is any indication,
Oh.
the DOT has no clue.
Well, I will tell you now that they've added, what is that what everybody calls a back road to Disney?
429.
429. Since they finished 429, it has completely changed the traffic structure of Orlando. It's gotten infinitely better. You would agree with that, right?
Well,
That 429 changed. Now, granted, it took 10 years to build, but it really changed the traffic pattern.
well, it changed the traffic pattern in the attractions area. It still didn't change the traffic pattern in
No.
downtown.
But it still made a huge impact. It's still easier to get to the airport, for example, even though you still have to come through. In I-4, it's still a bit of a mess, but I think that 429's made a
By the way, if you're going to Orlando today and you're going to be in the downtown area of Orlando, know that I-4 eastbound near the downtown area, one lane is all that's open. Do you know why, Galen? This new construction they built, a section of about 600 feet of the interstate, because they had a torrential downpour about 4:30 this morning, underwater about 8 inches.
Wow.
On the new construction.
Wow, that's crazy.
On the new construction.
That's crazy. I mean, come on.
I was
Come
watching
on.
Channel 6 this morning, and they have it cordoned off. The only lane is the fast lane to the far left. Everything else is underwater for about 600 feet. And it's one of those.
Well,
It's one of those elevated parts of the interstate too. It's not even. It's not
that's
even at
even
ground
worse.
level. It's one of the elevated parts. Somebody's level that day wasn't working.
No, and the problem is when you get something like that, the person who's in that far left lane is under so much stress because they don't know quite what to do. And for some reason, people, when they go through a traffic area or a construction area, they feel like they have to go 15 miles an hour. You
Right.
know? It's like, and look around like a big roller. One of those construction rollers is going to roll over them or something.
Right.
Like, come on, let's get through this.
You know,
Oh, man.
you say that. A terrible story out of Polk County yesterday. You know,
boy.
you never get to decide the way you're going to go.
No.
But some ways are better than others. Can we agree on that? Like going peacefully
I think
going
that-
peacefully in your sleep is better than, going off an interstate and falling 150 feet to a fiery crash that you burn up in. We can agree that one's better than the other, correct?
Agreed. Absolutely agree with
So
you.
there was OSHA is now investigating a death that happened yesterday at the Polk County landfill. As a man driving a bulldozer, and he had the blade elevated so his view was obstructed, crushed a man in a porta potty and killed him.
Oh, my God. That's terrible.
It's a terrible story, but in a choice of ways to go, that's got to be one of the worst ways to go I've ever heard of.
I mean, fire and drowning are, one of my worst.
You're already in the degradation of a porta potty, and then you get crushed in it.
That's the problem, right? That's the problem because, you're not in a position where, no matter what happens, right? Your mama told you to always wear clean underwear.
Yeah, that doesn't help
Right.
there.
And so, well, your underwear are down by your ankles.
And the blue
Man.
dye.
The blue dye is next level pain.
Oh,
Because that's not something you can get rid of. I mean I don't even know if I'm trying to make a joke about it. It's not funny.
no, it was a
That's
terrible
so tragic.
death, terrible tragedy in Polk County. But of all the ways to go, to be crushed by a bulldozer while using the porta potty.
So
What was the bulldozer doing by the porta potty?
I don't know. There's a lot of unasked questions there.
Well, OSHA's investigating.
And I don't want that. I don't know.
Terrible way to go. Tragedy in Polk County yesterday. We got to take a break. Back with more with Galen Unaw after this timeout. 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
Are you suffering from neck, back, or leg pain? Go Green CBD Store can help you with holistic, all-natural, lab-tested products that help with pain, stress, anxiety, inflammation, PTSD, and so much more. We stock smokable products, gummies, chocolate, coffee, tea, even pain cream. Yes, we even have treats and oils for your dogs or cats. Go Green CBD is located in the Paddock Mall in the center court. We're open every day. Come in today for a free sample.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
Do you know it's time to grow? And the place to get your grow on is Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens on Southeast 38th Street in Ocala. Now listen up for a sample of this week's absolute best inflation-fighting deals at Bob Wine's. First up, of course, Bob's famous dwarf, ever-blooming Red Ruffle azaleas. 2 years ago, they sold for $3.99. Last year, they sold for $3.99. And this year, they're still super low-priced at $3.99. Bob just got some truly gorgeous periwinkle, just $5.99. And check out the fabulous gardenias, get 2 for $12. Their most popular quality red mulch, 3 bags, $12. And get a huge bag of Bob's famous pine straw, just $5.99. It won't blow away, it won't float away. Check out all the specials at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens, then get ready to get your grow on. Bob's on Southeast 38th Street in Ocala, daily till 4:30, Saturdays till 3, and the same blooming location since 1952.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. On a Tuesday, Galen Unall from Life South joins us thanks to the good folks at JustShip.net. Penn Flooring and Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. Galen, as you woke up, not even woke up this morning. Yesterday, on the way into work, I drive by the gas station at the corner of 60th and 40, Highway 40. And yesterday, as I drove in, I made note to look because I was going to do a Gas Buddy report yesterday, and I did about gas prices. And it was $3.99.9, so $4 a gallon.
Yeah.
I left the radio station yesterday about 11:30 to go meet my wife to meet. We had a couple business meetings, and as I go by the pump, as I go by the gas station, I literally almost rear-ended the car in front of me because I took my eyes off the road because I was stunned that I drove by it at 6:45 in the morning. It was $3.99.9. Less than 5 hours later, I drive by. It's $4.19.
Yeah, it's crazy. And my son just texted me. He saw it at $4.25, where he had it at $4 yesterday. So yeah,
the national average is at $4.19, which is 9 cents a gallon higher than the highest time in 2008 when Obama was in office. We broke a record with the national average of $4.19, which broke the record of $4.10.
It's going to get worse. Again, I think you and I talked about it yesterday. This is going to get worse, and I don't think it makes it better that we are still talking to the Iranians, we are still talking to the Venezuelans, and we are still getting oil from Russia.
Well, it was reported.
I read an article. We're
Go
up
ahead.
our imports on oil are up 47% for imports. Well, yeah. I mean, 2 years ago, Trump was bragging about how we're an exporter now.
Well, it was
and
reported.
You know what happened?
What? Go ahead.
They just shut them down.
It was reported. It was reported that on this program earlier on First Light, that during the pandemic, a lot of the wells that shut down hadn't been cranked back up because the Biden administration, not just the Biden administration, the federal level, but the states are caught up in red tape. He goes, the guy, the oil man they were talking to goes, look, we can start drilling in Texas and Oklahoma tomorrow. We could get the permits. Within 7 days, we could be drilling. He goes, but the other places oil is located, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho. He goes, it would take 6 to 8 months to get through all the state stuff and everything you got to get through to get those wells cranked back up. He goes, that's not going to help us in right now. He goes, and they're probably not going to let those wells crank back up. He goes, and then you have something like the Keystone Pipeline. Everybody wants to say the Keystone Pipeline. It wasn't even built yet. So even if it still had to be built before we could, and that oil wasn't programmed for the U.S., but it could be. We could buy it from Canada, but it's not even built yet to get it to us. He goes, the only alternative is to lift the embargo against Venezuela, start buying the 800,000 gallons we used to buy from Venezuela, buy it from them again, and that would offset the 720,000 gallons barrels we buy from Russia, and we could stop buying it from Russia. We'd still be in the same predicament, but we wouldn't be buying it from a guy that's using it to wage war. And the other guy goes, yeah, but you would use it in Venezuela, which is one of the most corrupt, he goes, yeah, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. It was much better when we drilled it our damn selves, is what the oil guy said.
Well, and that's just it. And believe me, at a certain threshold, right, we are still a capitalistic society. These oil rigs and, these states where they have all of this red tape, it will be worth getting through. And again, to me, as you said, it's worth paying another $1.50 a gallon. I get it, it's a lot, than to not put money in these corrupt places. You know what I mean? Until we can figure it out and become domestic. And the problem is, Tom, is we have enough here. And I think that's what frustrates everyone.
Well, here's the problem.
Right.
Jim Psaki yesterday, the press secretary for Joe Biden, right? Peppermint Patty. Now you're
Great
never going to.
nickname.
Now
well
you're never
done. Well done. Oh, no. When Ted Cruz said that, I'm like, man, that is perfect.
Yeah, because once I heard Ted Cruz say that, I could never see her as anybody else except Peppermint Patty. I just can't.
But she's already been promised her own CNN show when she leaves.
I know. So here's what she said at the podium yesterday. When asked about the escalating fuel prices and if the Biden administration has any plans to help alleviate these escalating fuel prices, she goes, that's why we've been explaining to you. We need alternative fuel. We need electric cars. You knew this was going to happen. It's what we've been trying to tell you. This is the new norm until we start with alternative fuels, which is exactly what I said. The Biden administration wants this oil price to keep climbing because it forces you towards what they want, and which is electric vehicles and more along those lines. Be damned that you still got to have coal-fired generating plants or diesel-fired plants to create the electricity that run these electric cars. You don't go to a gas pump and buy it. They literally have no desire to do anything about these gas prices because it goes exactly towards what they want you to do, driving you towards alternative fuel. Just like in the 70s, Jimmy Carter's administration had no desire to do anything about the oil embargo or do anything about lessening the price of oil because they wanted foreign investors with foreign cars to come into this country, the Toyotas, the Hondas. And by the way, it ended up being a good thing, but I remember it vividly, the consternation and the arguments and debates that were going on as they drove you away from big boat fuel drinking cars to little economy cars. That's exactly the same discussion I'm seeing now, except they're driving you away from the economy cars or gas fueled cars towards electric cars. We've seen this play out before in the 70s with an administration that had no desire to do anything about the oil prices because they wanted you to go to something else.
Well, I think Elon Musk said it best when he said, I hate to say it, but we need to increase oil and gas output immediately. Extraordinary times demand extraordinary measures. And that's a guy who his whole life is invested in batteries, right? And an alternative solution to oil.
His whole company, Tesla is his company,
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. And he's like, come on. I mean, and again, anybody who thinks that alternative energy is going to somehow miraculously change things.
But we're not going to get 1.21 gigawatts anytime soon.
No. I think this. We said it from the beginning. This is looking more and more like Carter every single day. I mean, what happened? I think you can go take a direct correlation to where Russia was in the 70s.
Yep.
To where they are now, where they were flexing their muscles.
Remember, they invaded Afghanistan right about that time.
Yeah, but they were also having huge influences in Central America.
Oh, yeah.
South America and in Africa. And now we're just allowing Russia to regrow. And so my hope is the next president, maybe a governor from a state that has a lot of sun in it, can come in and right the ship and fight back communism. And we can have the greatest economy and the best music, right? The clothes, I'm 50-50 on, but we can agree it was the best music of any single decade. For diversity, you could hear in the 80s there was so many new genres that are still great. They still are fantastic.
You went from new wave and pop. You were ending the disco era. Then you had new wave, punk, pop. Then you went to metal and the hair bands and
right.
And then at the end of it, grunge came in 1989. So it was. That's correct. It was a great decade. I'll give you that.
It's the greatest decade.
Hip hop was born in the 80s. Oh, it was great.
Absolutely, it's the greatest musical decade. And now I think the greatest movie decade is probably the 1990s. But that's a different conversation.
I don't know. Beverly Hills Cop and the Breakfast Club came out in the 80s.
No, I get it. I get it. But Shawshank. There's
Caddyshack and Airplane and Animal House came out in the 70s.
That's true. Yeah. Again, I think the 90s is the best.
The Godfather came out in the 70s.
Sure did.
Although the first movie that comes to mind that came out in the 90s in 1990, Goodfellas.
Well, that's exactly right.
So there's a solid argument for the 90s because it started with Goodfellas. That's all I can tell you.
Well, but there's a whole lot more than that.
All my life, all I ever wanted to be was a gangster.
Yeah, that's true. That's fantastic.
Such a great movie. Hey, Galen, hang on the line for a little bit. We got more with you. Coming up at 9 o'clock, Carol Ann Baldwin will not be here. We'll be running a best of In the Garden with Carol Ann Baldwin. 10 o'clock, Matt Gibbs.
I thought Days of Thunder was in the 80s, but it was in the 90s.
It was in the 90s. Matt Gibbs will be here with Auto Repair with Personal Care from Sunrise Auto. But more with Galen, after this timeout. You're listening to Ocala Talks on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA Radio coming to you from the International Airport in Ocala. We'll be right back after this timeout.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
Afraid to confront Russia, Ukraine President Zelensky hits out at NATO and the West as Russia-Ukraine war enters day 13. President Zelensky on ABC News calls out the spectators.